I'm using a different account so that my husband doesn't know. Before meeting my current husband, I was married to my ex-husband Dave. Dave and I met when we were 5 years old. He moved into our neighborhood when he was 5. He was this cute boy next door, and we became inseparable. Even our parents joked that when we would be adults, we would be married. Ever since I knew the concept of marriage, I was determined that I would marry Dave. We were like soulmates. We had the same interests, the same hobbies, similar thoughts. He was my first everything, my first kiss, my first boyfriend, the guy I lost my virginity to. Among our friends, we were the perfect couple. After graduating high school, we immediately got married. I got into a good school, but I decided to study with Dave. We got married right after we finished high school. Our parents helped us find an apartment closer to our school. We worked hard, and we would often talk about having kids. On our 6th anniversary, we decided that we would try for a baby next year. I still remember the day when we were teenagers in a cuddle. We already decided what our baby's names would be. During our 7th year of our marriage, my mom got sick, so I had to stay with her for a while. I was planning to do something special for our 7th year anniversary, so I left early to surprise him. I went to my bedroom, and there I saw my husband banging another girl in our marital bed. I can never get that image out of my head. My husband saw me, and his face turned pale. I don't know what happened, but I threw up right on the spot. My husband was giving me the usual. "It's not what it looks like. I'm sorry, it was a mistake." I locked myself in the bathroom. Somehow, I mustered my strength and called my friend to pick me up, repeating, "Just don't listen to Dave." When my friend arrived, she charged at Dave, grabbed some of my things, and we left. I was in a catatonic stage at that point. Eventually, my parents found out and supported me on whatever decision I would make. Dave's parents, however, wanted us to stay together. There was a huge fight, but eventually we settled for a divorce. My whole fairy tale fantasy just shattered. I was spiraling into depression. My parents booked me into therapy for 2 years. After that, I was like a living corpse. Then my friend pushed me to go on a date. I did, but no one even came close to Dave. I was searching for someone like Dave, and every guy failed to live up to the expectation. That's when I met my now husband, Jay. Jay was the opposite of Dave. Dave was funny. He would be the life of the party. I remember one time he made me laugh so hard that I fell from my chair. But Jay was not funny like Dave. He would use humor only as clapbacks, and if he wanted to insult someone, he was also very stoic and closed off, pretty boring to my taste. On our first date, I asked him some questions like, "What's your favorite movie?" He told me he doesn't watch movies. He likes reading. He didn't even ask me a thing except for my educational background. He talked mostly about my field of work, but seemed not interested in me. We ate dinner in silence. I was 100% sure he would not call me, but 2 days later, he did. He asked me out on a second date. I was skeptical about whether or not I should go, but my friend insisted. I gave it another try. The second date went slightly better than the first. He talked a bit more and asked a few questions. We were taking it slow. He was opening up until the 6th date when we finally hooked up. TMI, it was amazing. I'm someone who has a snack after having sex, so I was craving something and asked him if I could grab something from his pantry. Even a bread and cheese sandwich would do. He told me to stay there and went out. I was kind of confused, but he came back after 20 minutes with takeout food. Something I really liked, orange chicken. I asked how he knew, and he told me, "You told me on our previous date." I melted right there. Dave and I had been together for most of my life, but he never made the effort of going out to get me something. That's when I knew, even if he was not my soulmate, I was madly in love with him. We dated for 3 years and got married. I came to know about Jay's family too. His mom and dad were drug addicts who died of an overdose. He was homeless for a while, but worked his way up. Throughout our marriage, I was very, very happy. He was different from Dave because whenever he would see me doing chores, he would ask, "Need help?" He helped me through my trauma from Dave by arranging a therapist who specializes in infidelity. He may not be a person of words, but his actions tell me that he loves me. When I was pregnant with our daughter, I would wake him up in the middle of the night to either give me food or rub my feet, and he would say, "Yes, ma'am," and get to work. I love him even after 15 years of marriage. My love has not stopped. He is still the stoic man I fell in love with after meeting him. I stopped believing in the concept of a soulmate. He was not mine, but we somehow make it work. I love you, Jay. Thanks for being there in my life. And anyone who is wondering what happened to Dave, he is getting his third divorce. His mom blames me for his downfall, but she refuses to see that her son cheated on every marriage. Edit. I'm sorry if there was any typing mistake. I'm typing on my phone, and the autocorrect is acting nuts. I try to turn it off, but it doesn't work. Yeah, resistance is futile with autocorrect. One commenter says, who knows? Maybe Jay is your soulmate. He seems to be more ideally suited to you from the beginning than Dave ever was. Op says, from the outside, we do not look like soulmates. Dave and I were the typical girl next door and boy next door kind of people. Jay was more closed off initially when I was dating him. He was really rude in my opinion. He also has a bad temper towards people who screw up, but other than that, he is good and kind. He helps those who genuinely need help. After reading this, all I can say is F Dave metaphorically and FJ literally in several positions, then have a nice dessert. I'm glad to hear you're happy. I hope you, Jay, and your kids have many, many more happy years ahead of you. Op says, FJ literally in several positions and have a nice dessert. I've been doing that for 18 years, LOL, and he still gets me a snack. His mom blames me for his downfall. She says, yeah, because it can't be the fault of her freaking child being an immoral, faulty human being. Could it? I'm poly, and I have a different attitude to sex around a relationship, but promises are promises regardless. Commitment is commitment, no matter what flavor. And Dave is certainly emotionally incomplete. I never believed in soulmates from childhood, but you know when it works when it's right. You just had to have a trial marriage to refine your definition. Op replies, according to his mom, he was devastated when I wanted a divorce. She tried to convince me to stay with him, even after knowing he cheated. She was angry at me and my parents when I said no. She blames me because she thinks if I had stayed, her son would not have become a serial cheater because I could fix him. His other marriage failed because he was a mess because of me, not because he was effing other people on the side. Dave was never your soulmate. Jay was, it just took time to find him. Op says, when I asked Jay about if he believes in soulmates, he told me, I don't believe that crap. It's just like horoscopes. People believe in it because it makes them feel better. A lot of potential good relationships get broken because of this crap. I was kind of devastated that he doesn't believe in soulmates. Can you believe in these 18 years we've only said, I love you only 5 times? As far as I can count, I want to say it more. HM. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own definitions on what a good relationship has or doesn't have, but I would say, yeah, you need to be saying things like that a lot more than that. Like I'm glad Ops found someone new and moved on, but it's clear that there's still a little bit of issues here. Let's go to an update. A lot of you people have been asking me and personally messaging me about Jay's upbringing and how he managed to survive. Well, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to talk about his personal life. I mean, I heard some parts which really made me cry, therefore I'll try to summarize it. So, my husband Jay is an only child. His mom and dad were from a poor family. They were drug addicts. His household was a mess. He remembers his father pushing him down the stairs when he was like 8. Jay mostly grew up with his grandfather, his mom's dad, as far as I know. His mom was not allowed to come to his grandfather's house. Jay mostly spent his weekday at his house. His mom and dad didn't care. They were always high and had odd visitors. His grandfather taught him a lot of things like handling tools, woodwork, electric repair stuff, ever since he was little. With some advice from his grandfather, he learned that his parents are very useless. He has to survive on his own. All they know is how to do drugs and invite people for group sex. He started doing odd jobs like dog sitting, car and window washing, gardening, and he also tutored from time to time. Shortly after his parents died of an overdose, he became a permanent resident of his grandfather's house. He worked so that he could afford to go to college, as his grandfather had little money for him, but it wasn't enough. He thought about joining the army at 18, but he failed the physical test when he was 17. When his grandfather died of a heart attack, Jay was left in a difficult position. His grandfather lived in a rented house, so Jay couldn't live there anymore. He was forced to live in a homeless shelter throughout his high school years. Even in the shelter, he faced challenges, getting bullied and getting into trouble for standing up to his bullies. However, since he was a good student, he didn't face serious repercussions. He left the homeless shelter when a pastor from the local church took him in. The pastor knew Jay because he worked in the church for a while. The pastor was a nice guy. He funded Jay's living and also helped him get a scholarship to a good university. Jay studied finance and business, as his entire childhood was spent in poverty, so he was obsessed with learning how to make money. He made some connections, which landed him a good part-time job during his final year. I met Jay through my friend. She worked in the same company as him. He worked as an investment banker at that time, and the rest you all know. This is pretty much it. I understand why he's so stoic and doesn't show his emotions. I once asked, out of curiosity, if he saw the harsh reality of life, but still, how does he manage to stay good? He once told me about this couple whose children he used to tutor. They were a really happy family in his eyes. The husband loved his wife. He mentioned that the husband would always have a hand on his wife's body as a form of affection. Their children were also well-behaved and had a good childhood. From that moment, he knew he wanted a family like that because he never had a complete family. But he was sure that somebody would not be able to love him because he doesn't know how to show love. Throughout his entire childhood, he has only seen his parents fight and cheat on each other in front of each other. That really destroyed his perception of love. If it wasn't for that couple, he probably wouldn't believe that there are people in this world who can love each other for life. It is a little wrong of me to say he displays no emotions, but he does on rare occasions. I remember the day our daughter was born. Jay held her and cried loudly, repeating, "I will protect you. I'll never leave you." He did say, "I love you" to both me and her. The same thing happened when our son was born. It gave me an idea to just pop out babies so that I can see his emotional face, But anyways, I know he does love me and our little family. He always holds me tight whenever we're cuddling. He's really good with my parents, and my parents also adore him. Sometimes, it just makes me cry knowing that he's been through a lot, and I've lived such a sheltered life. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve him because he's a very kind and a good person. Also, yeah, we do say I love you a lot more now. Oh, that's good. And yeah, it does sound like he's gone through a lot, which would explain his reservations. Okay, OP, he makes a final update. I just wanted to give a big thanks to everyone who has been kind and supportive. I could not imagine that so many people would come through because of my post. A lot of you suggested therapy. To be honest, I did in the past, but my husband brushed it off by saying his past rarely bothers him. Thanks to people, I suggested him some articles on PTSD and childhood trauma. He studied for a bit and found a therapist for him to help him with his trauma. He only had 2 sessions so far. A few days ago, he came home from work, and I want to greet him like usual. He pulled in for a big hug and started sobbing. I told him it's okay, and we went to our bedroom where we sat down and talked. He told me that he was sorry for being so ice-cold all these years. He opened up more and said he was afraid to confront his demons, so he just kept them back in his head. He had trouble expressing how he felt. He felt guilty that he didn't say, "I love you" more often. I'm just paraphrasing what he told me. I love you with all my heart. I know I don't say it, but I feel it every day and every moment. I'm sorry for taking away all those years from you, for not expressing my love for you. Words cannot express what you actually mean to me. You gave me my kids, made my house a home. I never had that growing up. I always wanted that, and you made it happen. I'm sorry that I was so cold and never said, "I love you" more, because I do. I love you a lot. I want to make it up to you. I don't want to waste another second of my life burying those emotions anymore. It feels good to see him vulnerable for the first time in his life. I cried with him that night. We talked a lot about our marriage and the times we spent together. It was a real bonding experience. From that day on, he has been really attentive towards me. He would always come home as early as possible to simply have more time with me. We cuddle a lot and also make love, except this time it feels new and different, like a newfound love. He's been saying "I love you" to my kids. My son is confused, and my daughter just said, "Dad, you're weird." He's thinking about planning a trip for just 2 of us, because it's been really long since we went on a trip alone. So, thanks, you gave me a new version of my husband and probably strengthened my marriage with him. Not that there were problems, but I hope my husband is not so haunted by his demons now. Wow, there you go, guys. What a great ending. I think this proves that soulmates are made, not found. Let's read some final comments. Jay protects and loves his family. OP. He protects and loves Jay. I wish them a long and happy life. Wow. For a man who couldn't say "I love you," that's impressive. He did much more than that with this confession. It's always the quiet ones that steal your heart. Kay confirm, my husband is quiet and stoic, but he's my beautiful shining star that never fails to make my days so much brighter. He had a really rough upbringing, but didn't let it make him bitter. He's so kind, helpful, loving, and hilarious. I wish I could keep him in my pocket, haha. This reminds me of a post I saw a few years ago about a wife and her husband. She knew he loved her through his actions, but he never said it. They talked about it, but he had a really hard time with words. The wife really wanted more affirmations of love, and it was bothering her that he wouldn't say it. They saw a counselor or a therapist, and it came out that he had an effed up background with people who lied and manipulated all the time. He really struggled with putting his feelings into words. He associated, I love you, with people using you. The therapist asked if it had to be words or if any other affirmation would be good for the wife. The wife said any affirmation would be good. The therapist recommended that they come up with a code system instead of words, and they settled on 3 quick taps to mean I love you. That did the trick. The husband had no problem with the code and ended up using it all the time. When they would sit on the couch together, the first thing she would feel was 3 quick taps on her leg. Walking through a store, it's 3 quick taps on her arm. It just strikes me that some people have this huge depth of feeling and they can't show it with words, but they can often show it in other ways. Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, folks, we're going to leave that one there. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Either way, let's move on to the next story. Alrighty, we're on relationship advice. This one was written by user FishingThink92, and it's titled, I found out that my husband has been keeping a secret box of mementos on the top shelf of our closet, and I don't know what to do about it, or if I should even bring it up. I honestly don't know how the hell I'm supposed to talk about this. I genuinely am in disbelief. So backstory, my husband, let's call him Lee, and I have been together since our sophomore year in high school. We were each other's first everything, and for the most part, I feel like we honestly have a picturesque marriage. I'm currently 5 months pregnant with our first child, and I've taken it upon myself to DIY the guest bedroom into a nursery. To do that, I wanted to sort through the stuff in there and get rid of anything unnecessary. I think it's relevant to say that I'm pretty short, 5 feet 2 inches, so I don't really store things up high since I can't reach. But my husband's a foot taller than me, so he doesn't have this tendency. This is how I found the memento box on the top shelf. It was just a plain cardboard box, so I didn't think much of it at first, but since I didn't remember putting it up there, I wanted to see if it was something that needed to go into storage or if it was just junk. I don't know what I was expecting, but inside the box there was a photo album, a trash bag, and a black leather bag. The album just had my name plus Lee's written on the cover, so I thought it would be something sweet because Lee has a tendency to gift me sentimental things, but no. The album was full of nude pictures of myself, all of them marked with dates and a short journal-like entry. The first one was from our first time when we were teens, and the latest one was marked from the night I surprised him with my pregnancy announcement. Most of the pictures are poor quality, but some are clearly of me sleeping after the deed. These journal entries talk about how he ranks each experience and his favorite part of it, like some weird logbook. Inside the bags was some of my lingerie and even some old razors and hairbrushes. I don't know why on earth he keeps them, but he has 2 bags full. I don't know how or what to do. I mean, is this normal behavior? Is this some twisted form of romance on his part? A part of me feels like I shouldn't feel as disgusted as I am. But this violates my own boundaries since I explicitly told him in the past that I was against sending or giving him any nude photos. What do I do? I love my husband, but I'm not sure how to confront him about this. Whoa, this is weird, like serial killer stuff. I mean, I'm sure he's not a serial killer, but yes, strange. Let's look at the comments. Nope, not normal. Your feeling violated is incredibly warranted. This behavior is wrong on so many levels. He's got some type of fixation or ritual. I'm worried about hidden cameras. Please check and call him the hell out on all of this and find out what's causing it. The man needs heavy-duty therapy with a certified sexual therapist immediately. Taking creepy pictures of you as you sleep naked and having naked photos of you as a minor in general and then rating every sexual experience with you is not normal at all. The lingerie, razors, and hairbrushes make it even creepier. This is creepy, obsessed stalker crap. No, this is not normal at all. This is also not romantic at all. The fact that he took pictures of you sleeping and has them in an album is incredibly concerning. Him ranking times you all had sex is setting off more red flags. This is creepy and inappropriate behavior. I can't imagine my fiancé taking pictures of me sleeping, let alone him keeping a log of our sex life. Girl, you have to show him the box and demand answers, and don't go easy on him. None of this is okay or normal, and you should really be concerned as to why he thinks any of that is okay. Op makes an update 5 months later, so I'm not sure if anyone cares. And while I didn't reply to any of the comments, I did end up talking with my husband about this just a few days ago. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to just act like I didn't see anything and go on with my happy life. But after giving birth to my baby girl about a month and a half ago, I guess the stress and everything added up, and I let it slip in an argument. I don't remember all that was said, but I was exhausted, and my husband, while he's been super helpful and took over the household chores for me and helps out with the baby girl, had just been getting on my nerves. I sort of exploded on him in a way I'm not proud of. Worst of all, he wasn't even doing anything. All he'd been doing was reminiscing about how I used to make a Sims family of us when I was in uni and how creepy it was. He said it endearingly. I don't really know why I got so mad, but I basically said something along the lines of how he's the creepy one because he has a secret stash of stuff hidden from me. I felt really bad because he got all pale and went quiet, and then he sort of said he needed space and went to blow off some steam at the shooting range, which he does a lot when he needs to think. So, I didn't question it. He came back home around dinner and said he was ready to talk. I asked him about all of the things I found, especially the photos. I reminded him again that I never agreed to making nudes of any sort, and he apologized and agreed to burn them. Apparently, our history goes back further than even I knew. As he recounted, we actually met before high school. I had no idea, but his mom, who's a divorce attorney, was the very same one my mom used when she separated from her first husband, now my dad. I called my mom after to confirm, and she told me it was true. But she and my mother-in-law never told me because my mom's divorce was messy and she hates talking about it. Anyways, back to the first meeting thing. My mother-in-law at the time often had Lee hang around her office after school, and it was during one of these days that my mom had to take me with her to speak with her in person. Lee was actually the boy that I played with in the waiting room. I can't believe he remembered that because I totally forgot it. So according to him, that first meeting was the day he knew I was special. Lee told me that while he had tried to pass it off as a crush as he got older, it never really went away. This led him to look into his mom's case files. In my state, attorneys have to keep them for 7 years. He found my mom on Facebook, then my dad in her friends list, and managed to find my first and last name in order to find my Instagram. He had convinced his parents to let him transfer from his private K-12 school to my public high school, using the excuse that they had a better athletics program, which isn't actually far-fetched since my high school was one of the best in the state for that. Once he found out where I was going, thanks to my dumb self putting it in my bio, I thought that us meeting was sheer coincidence and that we fell in love naturally, a classic sort of high school sweethearts. But no, Lee had all orchestrated it. I took my daughter with me to stay with my mom and stepdad, while Lee agreed to stay home and let me think I spoke to my mom, as well as my mother-in-law and father-in-law. Lee's parents are not happy with him, in all honesty, and my mother-in-law is especially mad because of client confidentiality. My mom gave me some good advice. She suggested that I should reflect on whether Lee had displayed any other red flag behaviors. I can honestly say that no, he hadn't. But since I know I'm biased, I asked my friends and those close to me if they noticed anything. So far, everything else about Lee seems to check out. I've never felt endangered by him, even when I told him I needed some distance for a few days. I want to make this marriage work, but is this something that therapy can't fix? Op adds a comment. Hi, this is really late for a reply. I'm sorry about that. I wasn't ready to acknowledge it for a long time. Lee told me that he didn't mean anything by it and wanted to just have a keepsake collection of some memorable moments we shared. But he did acknowledge that he knew it was wrong and apologized. He promised me he'd get rid of the pictures by burning them. Geez, yeah, I mean, the pictures are one thing, but him basically matchmaking himself to you, that's another. I don't know. Op seems convinced he's a nice guy, but I can't help but get alarm bells ringing in the back of my head when I'm reading this. Okay, Op makes a small final update. Lee and I have since been going to couples counseling, and he's going to individual therapy after the whole drama that happened a few months ago. He had sort of an a Christ moment, where he realized that the way he'd been obsessing over the idea of me wasn't the same as a healthy love. We spent a few weeks apart so he could work on himself, and he turned over his devices, passwords, and accounts to me so that I could go through and calm my worries because I was really anxious about the explicit photos. Since then, though, we're back in our house and with our baby girl, and their marriage is back on track and better for it. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that ending. Let's read some final comments. Yeah, that last little update sounds like when Joe would text and post from people's phones. Has anyone checked their basement for a glass cage? The worst thing about this is if she left him, 100% that he would stalk her, or worse. Like, I can't imagine the risk of him being a family annihilator would be low. Everything will be fine as long as she continues to perfectly match his expectations for her. Do you think she's eventually going to realize she married her stalker? My Mentos, my ask, there were specifically nudes that she didn't consent to. He didn't write about their holidays or funny memories. He wrote about their sexual experiences, every single one of them. He has samples of her body hair and clothing that has touched intimate parts of her body. He's not obsessed with her emotionally, not that that would be much better. He's obsessed with her physically and has been since he was a child. That's not romantic. It's terrifying. I'm so sad she didn't burn that box the moment she found it. Now he's never going to give her the chance. Yeah, there's plenty of scary hypotheticals that could go on here, but I guess all we can do is cross our fingers that it's not what everyone's thinking. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, we're moving on over to M A-hole. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled Me A-hole for not trying harder to let my ex know our son passed. Sorry for any layout issues. I'm on my phone, also throwaway, as my ex follows my main. Both myself and my partner were 28 when I found out I was pregnant. Together for 4 years, personally, I didn't want the child. My work was offering potential advances within my position, and I was excited for it. But after a lot of talking, we decided to go forward with it. When I was around 20 weeks, just after finding out the gender, he disappeared. I couldn't contact him. He wouldn't answer the phone or messages. I got worried and messaged his mother, and found out he was living back with her and was overwhelmed with the situation. He kept paying his part of the bills over to my bank each month, but I received no contact. I even tried going over, nothing by about 27 weeks. I gave up trying, gave up crying, and just got on with what I thought was a future as a single mother. I brought everything needed over the next couple of weeks and set it all up. At 31 weeks, I started having pains, but put it down to Braxton Hicks. Just before 32 weeks, my waters went, and I went into labor with a baby coming very quickly. We went straight into NICU. I messaged and rang my ex and his mother, no response. Less than a week later, my son passed due to complications of early birth. I again tried to contact my ex and his mother, left voicemails and messages, nothing. The next few weeks were a blur, but with the help of my mother and father, his funeral was arranged. They tried to contact ex and his mother as well. Still nothing. I sent more messages, nothing. I'm assuming we were probably all blocked, but honestly, at that point, I didn't care. I was so broken. His funeral came and went. It was beautiful and horrible. I stopped messaging and told my family not to bother after the funeral had passed. I couldn't deal with it anymore. About 5 months after his birth and death, my ex turned up and let himself in. I wasn't at home, but when I got back, he was instantly hostile. The flat was clearly not set up for, nor accommodating, a small child. He demanded to see his son. I broke down and told him what happened. I've never seen him so sad and angry. He stormed out, slamming the door on his way out. Within half an hour, I got a nasty call from his mother, followed by messages from siblings and other family. How dare I not let them know something so serious? How could I hide something like that out of petty spite? I truly didn't. I tried, but I couldn't keep trying. It's been nearly 3 weeks now of them being awful. I was speaking to my sister this weekend, and she said to be fair, it was a bit of a dick move to not keep trying. That is, deserve to know, she added. I tried so hard to let him know, but I was struggling so hard too. I lost my son too. Am I the a-hole? Should I have done more? No, man, not the a-hole. What a deplorable man, really. He just abandons his child and his family, and then ignores all communication thereafter. Like, seriously, get a grip. He didn't deserve to know it all, if you ask me. Let's go to the comments. Holy crap, not the a-hole. He abandoned you while you were pregnant, and he and his family ignored your messages and attempts to get in contact. You were the opposite of an a-hole. I'm so sorry for your experience, and I suggest changing the locks and cutting them off completely. Honestly, F him and his family. You tried contacting them before and after it happened, and nothing. Then he just shows up like he didn't abandon you at such a fragile time. Honestly, if that was me and I tried contacting the dad and family and heard nothing, I wouldn't bother either because planning a baby's funeral would be my top priority, not chasing someone who left. Not the a-hole. Let me get this straight. You went through a pregnancy and a NICU baby death due to early birth, likely due to the stress those brats put you through. And they have the audacity to say you didn't try hard enough? Bite me, that is how I would respond. I'm so sorry you went through that, and I want you to understand how strong you are for going through that alone. I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope you block that whole group and force shame on your sister. For shame, not the a-hole. 100,000% not the a-hole. So they essentially went no contact with you and then blamed you for not contacting them, and are now harassing a grieving mother and young woman recovering from her first pregnancy. They sound like freaking monsters if we're going to shoot straight about it. I'm sorry for your loss and wish nothing but healing and happiness for your future, which hopefully does not include your ex, his mother, or possibly your sister. Not the a-hole. Firstly, let me say I'm so very sorry for your loss. Those words are cliché and trite, but they're all I have. Secondly, the sperm donor dropped off the face of the earth because he couldn't deal, and then he has the audacity to say you should have tried harder to reach him. I'm sorry, but you tried repeatedly, not just to contact him, but also his family. They didn't answer. They weren't there for you during any of this. That was their choice. You tried the hardest you could whilst going into early labor, having a sick baby in the NICU, and eventually his passing in the funeral. You didn't have the mental bandwidth to keep going. And to me, that's totally acceptable. What's unacceptable is his and his family's decision to be unreachable by blocking you or whatever. Thirdly, please change your locks so that he can't just let himself in and come and go as he pleases. You're going through enough without having to deal with coming home to him sitting on your couch out of the blue. Lastly, your sister needs to grow up. What an immature response. She must know you tried. And with all you were dealing with, I don't think you could have tried any harder. She needs to learn some empathy. I wish you the best moving forward. Yeah, I think we get the picture. I'm glad the comments are on my side. Hope he makes an edit. Thank you all so much for your responses. Sorry for not replying to anyone. Reading them has been a lot, honestly. I'm going to drink a bottle of wine or two, read your kind responses, and cry myself to sleep. Writing this all out and living it again has been hard. Unfortunately, I'm not able to change the locks. The landlord said no. But my tenancy ends on the 12th of June, and I already have a new flat to move into. Thankfully, my dad has been able to cover the cost of a private therapist, and I see her again on Tuesday. Thank you all so much again for your kind words. Second edit. If I'd realized this was going to blow up so much, then I probably would have just posted it to my main. If you see this post, anyway, read it, Lewis. Then read it again, then read the comments, then just leave me alone. Thank you all for your comments. I'm going to show my therapist the post when I see her and talk it through. But honestly, it has helped a lot, even if I did cry quite a bit. I'm going to sleep now and won't be back on this post, but thank you all. Okay, Op comes back, makes an update 2.5 months later. The previous post was locked, but I've had a few messages asking after me. So, before I leave this account completely, I just wanted to let people know I'm alright. The move went smoothly. I'm far enough away that there's no risk of bumping into my ex or his family. I changed my number and deleted all social media, so I haven't had anything from them personally for about 6 weeks. My sister apologized for what she said, and we've spoken a lot about it all. I definitely don't think our relationship is the same, but we're okay. I still hear they're speaking badly about me from friends, but I try and ignore it. I'm in therapy still, and I'm trying my hardest to move forward with everything. I visit my son's grave when I can. Thankfully, my ex and his family care so little about more than themselves they never asked where he's buried, so I can do so in peace. Thank you all for everything you said. I found myself going back to the previous post a lot over the last couple of months, and it's helped me more than I can express. I'll be leaving this account now, but again, thank you. Someone asks, "Can you explain what your sister said and was thinking?" Op says, "My dad chewed her out in a big way when he found out what she said to me. She said that she didn't realize how much we tried to contact him and thought it was like when I was pregnant that I decided not to bother with the ex anymore and just do it all myself. Honestly, it seems like bullshit. My parents were my support throughout everything, but my sister wasn't so absent she didn't know we rang and messaged a lot. But her apology did seem genuine, and she has had nothing nice to say about how they've been since. If anyone's going to blow up at them, it'll be her, but my dad said to leave it and let them ruin themselves." Okay, folks, and now for a final update. Another 8 months later, I forgot until I was clearing out some apps for phone space. I thought I'd send out a final update before I send the app to the void. I wish I could say things are amazing, great job, and new partner, blah, 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 but it's nothing as great or as exciting as that. I moved into my new flat last year, and it's nice. I forgot how expensive it is to live alone, but I'm managing. I did end up getting a new job. The pay is about the same, and the job role is also similar, but X doesn't know where it is. He didn't show up at the old job or anything exciting like that. I just wanted a new start along with my new home. No new partner. I don't have it in me to date yet. Sister stuff, we're low contact. She apologized, but she still speaks with X on occasions, according to my mom. Nothing dramatic like, "Oh my God, they're actually secretly banging and have 5 babies and blah, blah, blah." Just that my sister will talk to him if they bump into each other. But honestly, it kind of hurts after everything. I'm still in therapy. I doubled the length of sessions around the 1-year date of my son's passing. Thankfully, my ex didn't turn up at his grave, or at least not when I was there. I'm not going to go into it too much, but it sucked. It hurt a lot, and I spent quite a few days drunk and crying in bed after the visit. My dad has been my rock through all this. I'm still paying him back for everything, but he waves me off when I say I'm going to pay X amount this month. But I know his bank account cries, LOL. We have a morning together on Sunday where we just drink tea, catch up, and maybe put on the F1. It's nice, and I love the time together. So, basically just boring. Thankfully, no X contact, nor his family, no massive life changes. Just one foot in front of the other. I reread everything I posted last year, and read loads of the comments again. And I just want to say thank you. I was in a really bad place, mentally, and it was hard to see that I wasn't the villain in this. A mixture of therapy and all the comments helped, so thank you all. Bye-bye. Okay, folks, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, a relatively calm, non-dramatic ending there. That's usually how these things go. I mean, obviously, but in real life. Let's be realistic. Let's read some final comments. This post is so incredibly sad. She did everything she could. I would understand if she never spoke to her sister again. I'm sending her all the hugs. Why would he turn up at month 5? Because he didn't want to do any of the work during the hard parts of pregnancy or early parts of raising the baby. Then he wanted to blow in and be forgiven and act like a great dad while criticizing Op for any perceived mistake. He's a nut job. I would not worry. Karma catches up to people like that, especially ones that are that dumb. If you treated my sister the way this asshat treated Op, you'd be dead to me. Polite conversation every time I saw you in public? I just loudly start calling you a deadbeat a-hole to your left. I don't blame Op for being low contact with her sibling. How on earth could you be okay with him or his family in any capacity once you knew what happened? Yeah, 100%. The sister is deplorable in this situation as well.